Welcome everyone to Bookaccino Live for October. Got a great lineup for you. We've got more books than usual, so I'm going to have to go a little bit fast here. And we're also including some holiday books because we know people were asking for those the last time. And we do listen to you. We do listen to what you want us to do. So, okay, your top picks from September's presentation. The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave. Got an interview with Laura Dave that's up on the site. It's one of my bets-ons. It's been on the New York Times list for 2 weeks. Go, Laura. Tell Me Everything, Elizabeth Strout was Oprah's book club selection. Leanne Moriarty, Here One Moment. It's one of my bets on selections. Love the book. The sequel, Jane Half Korowitz. We just put up an interview with her that's on the site. It's one of my bets on selections as well. It's a follow-up to The Plot. For Catherine, The Right Sister by Tracy Emerson Wood. There's another one of your selections. We Solve Murders by Richard Osman, which hit very, very high on the New York Times list. And The Mistletoe Mystery by Nita Prose. I am reading this now about halfway through and I'm loving it. It's a novella. She's got a big novel coming out in April. So they're your top picks from September. Start with some fiction. Okay, we've got Shock Induction by Chuck Palahniuk, and this is on sale this week. Okay, the best and brightest students at a seemingly reputable high school are disappearing. Every day, it seems another overachiever is lost to an apparent suicide. But something more sinister is lurking beneath the surface. These kids have been under surveillance since birth, monitored and measured by an online service called Greener Pastures. It's here in Greener Pastures that billionaires observe and recruit the next generation of talent. The highest test scores, the best grades, and the most niche extracurriculars just might land these teenagers an enticing offer at auction. In Shock Induction, students must choose between the risk of following their dreams or the security of money and a lifetime of servitude to the world's wealthiest and most elite. But how much of a choice do these kids really have? I think this is a really cool cover. I love the word shock induction, the way it's inside the head. Okay, What Does It Feel Like by Sophie Kinsella. It's out this week. I read this last weekend. It's a novella called What Does It Feel Like? What Does It Feel Like? And Jodi Picoult calls it the bravest book you'll read all year. It's definitely a bets on selection. It's actually a mirror of something that happened in Sophie's life. Sophie in 2022 was diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is a cancer of the brain that has no cure. And from that, she started to figure out like what life was going to be. She wasn't able to walk. She wasn't able to move. She didn't remember anything. She had intense physical therapy and everything, and took some time to tell her family and close friends before she released the news of what was going on with her to the world. But this is a novella where there's a character who is a woman who's got 5 children and a fabulous husband. It's really just mirrors what Sophie's life is like. And she talks about coming back from what happened. This is not a sad book. It's a really joyful book. And what I really like is there's something that she wants that very, very much. Let me read about what, and then I'll tell you what that is. Eve is a successful novelist who wakes up one day in a hospital bed with no memory of how she got there. Husband explains that she has had an operation to remove the large malignant tumor growing in her brain. As Eve learns to walk, talk, and write again, she wrestles with her diagnosis and how and when to explain it to her beloved children. She begins to recall what's most important to her. Long walks with her husband's hand clasped firmly around her own, family game nights, and always buying that dress when she sees it. Recounted in brief anecdotes, each one is an attempt to answer the type of impossible questions recognizable to anyone navigating the labyrinth of grief. And what I really love is that she wants to come up with, instead of like, I'm going to go swim with the dolphins, instead, I'm going to go do this. What I really want is a normal plus, meaning if you're going to be eating marmalade, you're going to eat the best marmalade. You're going to take the little things in life and just perk them up a little bit more. And it's something for us all to think about in life. Is it the big moments that matter or the little tiny things along the way? Sophie was we've been huge fans of hers around our house for years. My older son actually read the Shopaholic series as well. And I love the way this book opens, where she's in trying to decide whether she's going to buy a dress. And she's got this dress and she says, I don't know where I'm going to wear it, but I have to have it. And I confess, I have one of those in my closet right now. Next, we've got Dogs and Monsters from Mark Haddon, which is coming on October 15th. Greek myths have fascinated people for millennia, seeing them in lessons about fate and hubris and the contingency of existence. Mark Haddon digs into the heart of these ancient fables and sees them anew. These tales cover a vast range from the mythic to the domestic, from ancient Greece to the present day, from stories about love to stories about cruelty, from battlefields to bed and breakfast, from dogs in space to doors between worlds. All of them bound together by a profound sympathy and an understanding of how human beings act, think, and feel when they're pushed to the very edge. Next, we've got Don't Be a Stranger by Susan Mino. And I have to say, she is going to be one of our guests at the Morristown Festival of Books. That is happening on October 19th, Saturday, October 19th. I'm going to be moderating 3 panels there. And I hope that many of you who are in the area can join us. She is going to be on one of the panels. So, October 15th, this book is coming out. And what we've got is Ivy Cooper's 52 years old when Ansel Fleming first walks into her life. 20 years her junior, a musician newly released from prison on a minor drug charge, Ansel's beguiling new good looks and quiet intensity instantly seduce her. Despite the gulf between their ages and experience, the physical chemistry between them is overpowering. Over the heady weeks and months that follow, Ivy finds her life gosh, here we go. One of those words I love, bifurcated by his presence. On the surface, she's a responsible mother, managing the demands of friends, an ex-husband, and home. But emotionally, psychologically, and sexually, she's consumed by desire and increasingly alive only in the stolen moments out of time with Ansel in her bed. Next, we've got Libby Lost and Found by Stephanie Booth. This is one of our fall reading titles out on October 15th. Libby Weeks is the author of the mega best-selling fantasy series, The Falling Children, written as F.T. Gold Hero to maintain her privacy. When the last manuscript is already months overdue to her publisher and rabid fans around the world are growing impatient, Libby is diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. Already suffering from crippling anxiety, her symptoms quickly accelerate. After she forgets her dog at the park one day, then almost discloses her identity to the journalist who finds him, Libby has to admit it. She needs help finishing the last book. Desperately, Libby turns to 11-year-old superfan Peanut Bixton, who knows the books even better than she does, but harbors her own deep secrets. Tensions mount as Libby's dementia deepens until both Peanut and Libby swirl into the inevitable but bone-shocking conclusion. So there's Libby Lost and Found from Stephanie Booth. Next, we've got Like Mother by Susan Rieger. And last week, the staff, Tom, Francesca, and myself had the pleasure of meeting her at a Dial Press event. And we just had such a good conversation. I'm enjoying this book enormously. It's going to be a bet sign. I'm going to do an interview with her, and it's one of our fall reading titles. So here's what we've got. Detroit in 1960. Liba Prieria is 2 years old when her angry, abusive father has her mother committed to an asylum. Lila never sees her mother again. 3 decades later, having mustered everything she has, she rises to the pinnacle of American media as a powerful, brilliant executive editor of the Washington Globe. Lila unapologetically prioritizes her career, leaving the rearing of her daughters to her generous husband, Joe. Grace, the youngest daughter, feels abandoned. She wishes her mother would attend the PTA meetings, not the White House Correspondents' dinners. She grows up, she cannot shake her resentment. She wants out from under Lila's shadow, yet the more she resists, the more Lila seems to shape her life. Grace becomes a successful reporter, even publishing a best-selling book about her mother. And in the process of writing it, she realizes how little she knows about her own family. And it really is true. Ruan Alam says it's a sprawling family saga, briskly told with the lightest of touches and off surprising sense of humor. And it completely is. But it's also thinking about who are the women behind the scenes that are running those big media organizations and what is it like in their homes as well. Very, very, very well done. Also, Susan started writing in her 60s. Her first book was published in her 60s, which I think is something I definitely want to talk to her about. What did you do before? Next, we've got some historical fiction. This book, The Love Elixir of Augusta Stern, was our fall reading title. The contest just ended at noon today, by Linda Cohen Leugman. And it's really a book that I was seeing all over social media yesterday. So what's it about? On the cusp of turning 80, newly retired pharmacist Augusta Stern is adrift. When she relocates to Redondo Springs, an active senior community in southern Florida, she unexpectedly crosses paths with Irving Rifkin, the delivery boy from her father's old pharmacy, and the man who broke her heart 60 years ago. She's still haunted by the mistakes of her past. What happened all those years ago? How did her plan involving her great Aunt Esther's most potent elixir go so spectacularly wrong? Did Irving ever truly love her, or was he simply playing a part? Can Augusta reclaim the magic of her youth before it's too late? Linda's also going to be at the Morristown Festival of Books, and I'm so proud to say that she is going to be moderated by a woman in our book club, Julia. So I love that. I love that we were able to make that connection. She's a huge fan of Linda's, and Linda was kind enough to do an event, a virtual event with our book club recently. So I love when connections like that happen. Next, we've got The Secret War of Julia Child by Diana R. Chambers. It's coming on October 22nd. Single, 6'2", and 30 years old, Julia McWilliams took a job working for America's first espionage agency years before cooking or Paris entered the picture. The Secret War of Julia Child traces Julia's transformation from the ambitious Pasadena blue blood to Washington, D.C. file clerk to head of General Wild Bill Donovan's secret file registry as part of the Office of Strategic Services. The wartime journey takes her to South Asia's remote front lines, then Ceylon, India, and China, where she finds purpose, adventure, self-knowledge, and the love with mapmaker Paul Child. Spotlight has rarely shone on this fascinating period of time in the life of Julia Child, and this lyrical story allows us to explore the unlikely world of a woman in World War II spy station who has no idea of the impact she'll eventually impart. I had no idea this part of her story, part of her life took place whatsoever. I do know that years ago, when we were on the Outer Banks, my husband decided he was make beef bourguignon, and he was running around doing this like he was on a talk show. And I think it remains one of our family's funniest moments, and I think we have a video of it somewhere. So this is before there was a moment to run around the kitchen talking about beef bourguignon. Next, we've got The Lies We Leave Behind by Noelle Salazar. It's coming on November 5th. Somewhere in the Pacific, 1943, Kate Campbell is a nurse who bravely flies back and forth from the front to rescue wounded soldiers amid long days, harsh conditions, and often dangerous weather. Driven by a deep personal need to help in the war effort, she's conflicted when an injury results in her reassignment to the relative comfort of the English countryside. Love has never been part of her plan, but despite herself, she falls for an officer with 3 bullet wounds, startling blue eyes, and a wicked sense of humor. For the first time, Kate sees a future far from the horrors of war and hate. But before she can pursue it, a secret from her past calls her to duty. She'll have to travel back into danger one more time to rescue a part of herself she'd left behind. Will she make it back? And what will that future still be waiting for her if she does? We've got The Lies We Left Behind. We leave behind, I'm sorry. Now we've got some thrillers and mysteries. We've got Dark Space by Rob Hart and Alex Segura. This is getting a lot of buzz. It's out this week. Jose Carriles is the pilot of Mosaic, a massive ship taking the Interstellar Union's first ever mission to outside our solar system. His former friend, Corinne Timoney, should have been the first spy at the Bazaar, the lunar colony's international intelligence arm. Instead, she's been demoted to admin duties. When the Mosaic experiences a series of strange malfunctions, and Carruthers is forced to take a wild gamble to save the ship, he begins to suspect the reasons behind the exploratory mission weren't exactly on the up and up. At the same time, Timoney's old instincts kick in as she realizes the distress call she received from the Mosaic has been wiped out without a trace. As people start to end up dead and loyalties are tested, Timoney and Carruthers find themselves entangled in a star-spanning conspiracy. So there we've got Dark Space. Next, we've got Identity Unknown by Patricia Cornwell, which is also out this week. Summoned to abandoned theme park to retrieve a body, Dr. Kay Scarpetta is devastated to learn that the victim is a man with whom she once had an intense love affair. The murder scene is bizarre, With a close crop of, a circle of petals around the body, and Giordano's skin is strangely red. Scarpetta's niece Lucy believes he was dropped from an unidentified flying craft. Scarpetta knows an autopsy can reveal the dead's secrets, but she's shocked to find that her friend seems to have deliberately left her a clue. As the investigators are torn between suspicions of otherworldly forces and of Giordano himself, Scarpetta detects an explanation closer to home that in her mind is far more evil. There we've got Identity Unknown. Got The Puzzle Box by Danielle Trussoni, which is coming out this week. Oops, sorry. Okay. This is one of our word of mouth selections. So let's talk about what it is. In the year of the Wood Dragon, and the ingenious Mike Brink has been invited to Tokyo, Japan to open the legendary Dragon Box. The box was constructed during one of Japan's most tumultuous periods when the samurai class was disbanded and the shogun lost power. In this moment of crisis, Emperor Meiji unlocked a priceless imperial secret in the Dragon Box. Only two people knew how to open the box, Meiji and the box's sadistic constructor, and both died without telling a soul what was inside or how to open it. Every 12 years since then, in the year of the dragon, the imperial family holds a clandestine contest to open the box. Every puzzle master who has attempted to open it has died in the process. But Brink is not just an ordinary puzzle maker. He may be the only person alive who can crack it. And he's a very interesting character. There's something that happened to him in his past that makes him really a savant on doing things like this. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the story. Next, we've got The Great Hippopotamus Hotel by Alexander McCall Smith. It's out next week. In the rolling hills just outside Gaborone, surrounded by a grove of acacia trees, lies the Great Hippopotamus Hotel. With spacious rooms overlooking the Botswanan countryside and a fine and loyal staff, the hotel has served as a refuge to weary travelers for many years. But a sudden string of misfortunes threatens to ruin the hotel's reputation. Food poisoning befalls an unlucky diner. Laundry mysterious disappears from the drying line, and a scorpion stings one of the guests. It appears that something foul is afoot. Madame Ratswamy and Mademoiselle Masuki are on the case to find out who could be responsible for these unfortunate events. The answer at first seems clear, especially when they find out that Violet Sephetho is involved. But as they dig deeper, they realize that the solution is not as simple as it initially seems. And isn't that always the case? Tom and I said one time we're going to have what word we repeat, and we're going to make a contest and see how many times we repeat it and make it a contest. We didn't have time to do it this time. The Waiting by Michael Connolly. It's the Ballard and Bosch novel. Renee Ballard and LAPD's Open Unsolved Unit get a hotshot DNA connection between a recently arrested man and a serial rapist and murderer who went quiet 20 years ago. His father was the pillowcase rapist, responsible for a 5-year reign of terror in the City of Angels. When Ballard and her team move in on their suspect, they encounter a baffling web of secrets and legal hurdles. Meanwhile, Ballard's badge, gun, and ID are stolen. She works the burglary alone, but her mission draws her into the unexpected danger. So she knocks on the door of who? Of course, Harry Bosch. At the same time, Ballard takes on a new volunteer to the cold case unit, Bosch's daughter, Maddie, who's now a patrol officer. But Maddie has an ulterior motive for getting access to the city's Library of Lost Souls, a case that may be the most iconic in the city's history. So it makes LA a very scary place to live when Michael Connolly's hands. Next, we've got The Unreasonable Doubt by Robert Dugoni, and I know he's a favorite of so many of our readers. It's coming out on October 22nd. When Jenna Bernstein, the disgraced wonderkind CEO of a controversial biotech company, is accused of murdering her former partner and lover, she turns to Seattle attorney Kira Dugan to defend her. Kira is more than a master chess player who brings her intuitive moves into court. She's Jenna's childhood friend. But considering their history, Kira knows that where Jenna goes, trouble follows. With only circumstantial evidence against Jenna, Kira is willing to bury any trepidation she might have to defend a woman she believes is innocent this time. As the investigation gets underway and disturbing questions arise, Kira puts her trust in a client who swears that she's telling nothing but the truth. This is just another devious game, and Kira might be working to set a murderer free. So there you've got Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. And now we've got In Too Deep. And In Too Deep, just looks like I just moved something, is from Lee Child and Andrew Child. Ah, yes, it's a Jack Reacher novel. Jack Reacher wakes up alone in the dark, handcuffed to a makeshift bed. His right arm has suffered some major damage. His few possessions are gone, and he has no memory of getting there. The last thing he can recall is the car in which he hitchhiked a ride to get off the road, getting off the road, run off the road, I'm sorry. The driver was killed. His captors assume Reacher was the driver's accomplice and patch up his wounds as they plan to make him talk. A plan that will backfire spectacularly. So there you've got Reacher. I just saw too on Deadline, the show that's on Amazon Prime, the Reacher show, has been reordered for series season 4, but I believe season 3 hasn't even come out. So that's like a really big deal. Next, we've got Carla's Choice by Nick Harkaway, which is coming on October 22nd. Set in the world of John le Carre's most iconic spy, George Smiley, Carla's Choice is written by le Carre's son, acclaimed novelist Nick Harkaway. It's the spring of 1963, and George Smiley has left the circus. With the wreckage of the West's spy war against Soviets strewn across Europe, he has eyes only for a more peaceful life. But Control has other plans. A Russian agent has defected in the most unusual of circumstances, and the man he has sent to kill in London is nowhere to be found. Smiley reluctantly agrees to one last simple task: interview Susanna, a Hungarian emigre and employee of the missing man, and sniff out a lead. But in his absence, the shadows of Moscow have lengthened. Smiley soon finds himself entangled in a perilous mystery that will define the battles to come and set him on a collision course with the greatest enemy he will ever make. Next, we've got The Blue Hour by Paula Hawkins. It's coming on October 29th. Planning to interview her, and it will be a Bets on selection. I read it over the summer, and I actually got to meet Paula when she was in the States doing a pre-pub tour. And it was just so interesting to hear the genesis of the story. So, welcome to Eris, an island with only one house, one inhabitant, one way out. It's unreachable from the Scottish mainland for 12 hours a day. It was once home to Vanessa, a famous artist whose notoriously unfaithful husband disappeared 20 years ago. And now it's home to Grace, a solitary creature of the tides, content in her own isolation. But when a shocking discovery is made in an art gallery far away in London, a visitor comes calling, and the secrets of Eris threaten to emerge. It's very, very well done. I know that idea of the island where you can't get to it for 12 hours a day has been done before, but the way it works here is very, very interesting. Next, we've got The Graze of Truth by Sharon Vers. It is coming on October 29th. I will be interviewing her, and it will be a full reading selection as well. Absolutely love Sharon's work because she dives deep when she's writing historical mysteries, and her research is so authentic, but her writing is so good that you feel like you're in the story. I feel like I'm completely there. I do not feel like I'm just the reader on the page. And if I sit down with one of her books, I'm usually 60 pages in before I look up. I believe we have a contest still running with this. Tom, correct me if I'm wrong. That is ending on Friday if you want to enter to win one of 25 copies of the book. So
You are right about that.
I'm
Yes,
right about that.
we'll remind you at the end of this presentation. We have a slide for that as well. So, yes, it'll be ending Friday at noon.
Fantastic. In Reconstruction era Baltimore, members of the city's elite keep turning up dead. When Jane Grey Wharton's husband Ned dies unexpectedly while overnighting at his brother's home, Jane has no reason to question the circumstances of his death. But on a visit to the same house a few weeks later, both Jane and her daughter fall gravely ill. Jane begins to suspect foul play. Though a trained chemist and a former nurse, Jane is haunted by a history of delusion, loss, and institutionalization. As the unexpected and devastating deaths begin to multiply, Jane's grip on reality starts to slip. When a respected Army officer falls terribly ill after visiting the Whartons' Baltimore home, Jane's greatest fears become all too real. The time has come to act, but who will believe her, and can she even trust her own mind? Really, really interesting story. It's grabbing me in from the beginning. Also, Sharon has been doing something amazing with the foundation that she has. We all know about the destruction of what's happening in North Carolina, and she has, big hearts there. And she is actually doubling the donation. If you donate, she will double the donation. And I can't remember the charity. I'll try and write it when I do the follow up to everybody afterwards. But she's doubling whatever any people donate, and it's been significant numbers over the last couple of days. And her son is actually boots on the ground in North Carolina, helping out what's going on. So I like somebody who doesn't just talk the talk; they actually walk the walk as well. And Sharon's we've redone this beautiful home in that's called Selma down in Virginia. She takes history seriously, and she takes taking care of people very seriously as well. So looking forward to talking to her in a couple of weeks. Next, we've got The Gray Wolf by Louise Penny. It's coming out on October 29th. Relentless phone calls interrupt the peace of a warm August morning in Three Pines. Though the tiny Quebec village is impossible to find on any map, someone has managed to track down Armand Gamache, the head of homicide in Suerte, as he sits with his wife in their back garden. Renee Marie watches with increasing unease as her husband refuses to pick up, though he clearly knows who is on the other end. And when he finally answers, his rage shatters the calm of their quiet Sunday morning. It's only the first in a sequence of strange events that begin The Gray Wolf. A missing coat, an intruder alarm, a note from Gamache reading, "This might interest you," puzzling scrap of paper with a mysterious link, and then a murder. All propel Chief Inspector Gamache and his team toward a terrible realization. Something more sinister than any one murder or any one case is fast approaching. So there we've got The Gray Wolf. I love the cover. Next, we've got This Girl's a Killer by Emma C. Wells. It's coming on October 29th, and it's another one of our fall reading books. Cordelia Black loves exactly three things: her chosen family, her hairdresser, worth every penny plus tip, and killing bad men. By day, she's an ambitious farmer rep with a flawless reputation and designer wardrobe. By night, she calls South Louisiana's of scrupulous men, monsters who think they've evaded justice until they meet her. One evening, news starts throwing around the term serial killer, and her best friend starts dating a man who just might unravel everything Cordelia has worked for. She must come to face with the choices she's made, the good, the bad, and the murderous. Her family and her freedom depend on it. There we've got This Girl's a Killer. Great cover on that as well. Next, from J.T. Ellison, coming on November 1st, we've got A Very Bad Thing. Number of hit titles and highly anticipated movie tie-in. Celebrated novelist Columbia Jones is at the top of her game. Fans around the world adore her, but on the final night of her latest book tour, one face in a crowd makes the author collapse, and by the next morning, she's lying dead in a pool of blood. Columbia's death shocks the world and leaves Darian, her daughter and publicist, reeling. Police have nothing to go on at first, but then details emerge pointing to the author's illicit past. Turns out that many people had motive to kill Columbia, and with a hungry reporter and frustrated cop on her trail, her secrets won't stay buried long. But how many lives will they shatter as the truth comes out? Here we got A Very Bad Thing. Next, we've got The Author's Guide to Murder by Beatrice Williams, Lauren Willig, and Karen White, coming on November 5th. There's been a sensational murder at a historic Castle Kinloch, a Gothic fantasy of gray granite on a remote island in the Highlands of Scotland. Literary superstar Brett Saffron Presley has been found dead under bizarre circumstances in the castle's tower book-lined study. Years ago, Presley purchased the castle as a showpiece for his brand and to lure paying guests with a taste for writerly glamour. And now it seems that the castle has done him in, or possibly one of the castle's guests has. Detective Chief Inspector Juan McIntosh, a local with no love of literary Americans, finds himself in the unenviable task of extracting statements from three American lady novelists. Why do these authors really come to Castle Kinloch? So there we've got The Author's Guide to Murder. And What's a Little Revenge Among Friends? Next, we've got Double Barrel Bluff, by Lou Berney, and it is coming on November 5th. During his years as a wheelman for the Armenian mob in Los Angeles, Sheikh Bushan couldn't think of himself as the settling down type. And now he's happily married to Gina, love of his life and former adversary, in Indiana, of all places. The great thing about Bloomington for two people with checkered past is that everyone is nice and no one knows them. Till the day a brutal Armenian thug shows up in his backyard. He demands that Sheikh help him find the missing Bob Moss, Alexandria Lexi Landrian, who also happens to be Sheikh's ex-girlfriend. Sheikh reluctantly agrees to travel to Siem Reap, Cambodia, where Lexi was last seen. Once there, he finds himself tangled in an underworld of Cambodian gangsters, mob politics, and opportunist expats, where the stakes aren't clear and everyone's looking to score. So there's double barrel Bluff. Next, we've got some memoirs, biographies, and other nonfiction. We're going to start from Here to the Great Unknown by Lisa Marie Presley and Riley Keough. It's Oprah's latest book pick. Don't know how many of you saw the show last night on CBS. Oprah had a special from 8 to 9 Eastern time, which I watched, where she interviewed Riley. And Oprah had been a very good friend of Lisa Marie. She'd been out to Graceland before. I think she said the last time was 2006. So when they're sitting and having this conversation, it's somebody who's known the family intimately. So in 2022, Lisa Marie Presley asked her daughter, Riley Keough, to help her finish her long gestating memoir. A month later, Lisa Marie was dead, and the world would never know her story in her own words, never know the passionate, joyful, caring, and complicated woman whom Riley loved and now grieved. Riley got the tapes from her mother had recorded for the books, lay in her bed, and listened as Lisa Marie told story after story. Riley knew she had to fulfill her mother's wish to reveal these memories, incandescent and painful to the world, to make her mother known. The book is written in both Lisa Marie and Riley's voices, a mother and daughter communicating from this world to the one beyond as they try to heal each other. The audio is done. There are pieces that are Lisa Marie, there are pieces that are Riley, and then there are pieces that are Julia Roberts. And I heard a bit of it last night. It sounds terrific. In fact, I immediately downloaded it because I want to listen to it. I think this is one of the ones I would enjoy listening to. I'm listening to Ina Garten narrate her memoir right now, and it's really, really good. So there are times where the voice really does make a difference. And here's another one of those stories. Next, we've got John Lewis by David Greenberg. It's out this week. Born into poverty in rural Alabama, John Lewis becomes second only to Martin Luther King Jr. in his contributions to the civil rights movement. He was a freedom writer who helped to integrate bus stations in the South, a leader of the Nashville sit-in movement, the youngest speaker in the 1963 March on Washington, and the chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which he made into one of the major civil rights organizations. Probably best remembered as a victim of a vicious beating by Alabama state troopers at the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, where he nearly died. David Greenberg's biography traces Lewis's life through the post-civil rights years, where he headed the Voter Education Project, which enrolled millions of African American voters across the South. So as you're watching today, or as you're looking at the list, think about holiday books to be giving to people as well, because a lot of times the books that we like are very different than the books our friends like, but you can always sit here and say, who would work for that? Who could I give that to besides what you want to read? Next, we got Melania by Melania Trump. It's on sale this week. In her memoir, Melania Trump reflects on her Solanian childhood, the pivotal moments that led to the world of high fashion in Europe and New York, and a serendipitous meeting with Donald Trump, a chance encounter that forever changed the course of her life. She opens up about their courtship, life in the spotlight, and experiencing the joys of motherhood. And she shares behind the scenes stories from her time in the White House, shedding light on her advocacy work and causes close to her heart. It's an unprecedented look in her time as First Lady, who was born outside the United States, a role she embraced with honor and dedication. And this is, yes, what the cover looks like. And I want to share something here. This was a book last night we didn't have in the presentation because Skyhorse, we confess, is not a publisher that we readily follow. And one of our readers wrote when they got the On Sale This Week newsletter and mentioned the book and said, why didn't you feature it? I was thinking it was for political reasons, but we don't do politics on the site. So I looked it up and said, yeah, it's out this week and we should add it. So Tom added the book to the page. We added it to the newsletter that you can read online about On Sale This Week, and we added it to the presentation. I want to share that we really do listen to our readers. And last night when we looked, the book was #1 on Amazon. So we're sitting there like, yep, I guess we kind of missed this one. So we really do react when you share what you're seeing as well. Next, we've got Framed by John Grisham and Jim McCloskey, which is on sale on October 15th. John Grisham is known worldwide for his best-selling novels, but it's real-life passion for justice that led him to his work with Jim McCluskey of Centurion Missionaries, a first organization dedicated to exonerating innocent people who may have been wrongly convicted. Together, they offer an inside look at the many injustices in our criminal justice system. Fundamental principle of our legal system is a presumption of innocence. But once someone has been found guilty, there's little room to prove doubt. These 10 true stories shed light on Americans who were innocent but found guilty and forced to sacrifice friends, families, and decades of their lives to prison while the guilty parties remain free. Very, very interesting. So it's astonishing true stories of wrongful convictions. I don't know if anybody's been watching the Menendez murders on it's inside the Menendez murders on Netflix. It's really interesting because the story that the boys had gone with at that point was they were being abused. And 30 years ago, I didn't realize it was 30 years ago, that was not talked about. And now they're re-looking at the case and they're re-looking at what's going on because others have come out and said that they were molested by their father. So it's interesting how history, it doesn't really change what happened, but it can change the perspective of what we see at a particular time. Next, we've got Sonny Boy by Al Pacino. It's a memoir of a man who has nothing left to fear and nothing left to hide. All the great roles, the essential collaborations, the important relationships are all given their full due, as is the vexed marriage between creativity and commerce at the highest levels. The book's golden thread, however, is the spirit of love and purpose. Love can fail you, and you can be defeated in your ambitions. The same lights that shine bright can also dim. But Al Pacino was lucky enough to fall deeply in love with the craft before he had the foggiest idea of any of its earthly rewards, and he never fell out of love. And that made all the difference. So there's Sonny Boy. Next, we've got What I Ate in One Year by Stanley Tucci, the best-selling author of Taste. Okay, here we go. And I love that 8 is across his mouth. Yes, I didn't miss that moment of whimsy. It's coming out next week. Food has always been an integral part of Stanley Tucci's life, from stracciatella soup served in the shadows of the Pantheon to marinara sauce cooked between scene rehearsals and costume fittings, to homemade pizza eaten with his children before bedtime. I go for the homemade pizza. Now, in What I Ate in One Year, Tucci records 12 months of eating in restaurants, kitchens, film sets, press junkets, at home and abroad, with friends, with family, with strangers, and occasionally just by himself. Ranging from mouth-watering, memorable to the comforting, domestic, and the infuriatingly inedible, the meals memorialized in this diary are prism for Tucci to reflect on the ways his life and his family are constantly evolving. Through food, he marks and mourns the passing of time, the loss of loved ones, and steels himself for what's to come. So I just love that. It's What I Ate in One Year and related thoughts. Next, we've got Gather Me by Gloria Edom. It's a memoir in praise of the books that saved me. And this is from the founder of Well Read Black Girl. Gloria Edom, who grew up in Virginia to Nigerian immigrant parents, started the popular Well Read Black Girl book club at the age of 30, eventually reaching a community of 500,000 readers. But her own love of books stretches far back. Edom's father moved back to Nigeria while she was still a child, marking the beginning of a series of traumatic changes and losses for her family. Became an escape, a safe space, and a second home for her and her brother was the local library. Books were where Edom found community, and as she grew older, she discovered authors and ideas that she wasn't being taught in class. Reading wherever and whenever she could, be it in her dorm room or when traveling by subway or plane, she found Black writers whose words that would forever change her life. So there we've got Gather Me. 'Tis the season. 'Tis the season. We promised you holiday-themed books. Here you go. Elf on the Shelf, The Family Cookbook by Shonda A. Bell. Yep. We missed the Elf on the Shelf generation. My boys are too old. I understand the Elf on the Shelf is definitely something you have to really be thinking of besides buying presents for the holidays. So let's see what this one is. It's a phenomenon for families around the world. Every year, millions of Scout Elf helpers fly in from the North Pole to join in the Christmas cheer with great excitement every day as parents watch their children discover their elves' landing spots. Many families integrate their Scout Elf friends into food and kitchen traditions, with the holidays filled with laughter and fun as little and big hands tinker with the ingredients, stirring, mixing, and pouring their hearts into something wonderfully delicious. The Elf on the Shelf Family Cookbook is presented by an exceptional team of Mrs. Claus's Sweet Shop elves who share their favorite holiday recipes along with ingredient lists, tips, tools, and favorite recipes you'll love to incorporate into the Elf on the Shelf tradition. If any of you have children, and you know they're going to be Elf on the Shelf lovers, I suggest giving this as a present on Thanksgiving so they too can figure out what to do with that elf for the next couple of weeks. I remember years ago, the late Nelson DeMille told me these extremely funny stories about what he had done with the elf with his younger son. And he says, I'm so over the elf. Next, we've got Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake. It's out right now. It's been 5 years since Charlotte Donovan was ditched at the altar by her ex-fiancé. She now has her strings ensemble, the Rosalind Quartet, and her life in New York is a dream come true. As holidays draw near, her ensemble mate, Sloan, persuades Charlotte and the rest of the quartet to spend Christmas with her family in Colorado. Yay. But when Charlotte arrives, she discovers that Sloan's sister Adele also brought a friend home, and the friend is no other than her ex, Brighton. Brighton just wants to try to forget that her band kicked her out, but instead, she is stuck pretending like she and her ex are strangers. It proves difficult when Sloan and Adele's mother signs them all up for a series of Christmas dating events. For a few days, however, things start to slip through memories, music, what they used to play together. It's all painfully familiar. So let's see what happens. Sheila Roberts writes The Merry Matchmaker. It's on sale also now. Frankie Lane knows what's best for just about everyone but herself. She's confident that she could help all the people in her life if they just would let her, and if all of her help didn't end in utter disaster. Mitch Howard is the owner of the local hardware store. They've been friends ever since Frankie opened her shop. Holiday Happiness, 9 years earlier. He got her through the nightmare when she lost her husband in a freak accident, and he's her favorite shoulder to cry on. He's been divorced for years, and it's such a waste of a man. He's the fittest, finest that Frankie knows. He's easygoing, wise, and kind-hearted. He needs someone, and she's determined to help him find that someone, whether he likes it or not. Next, we've got the Mistletoe Mystery. I am reading this one right now by Nita Prose. It's really sweet. It's really, really lovely. It's a nice novella. It's a fun thing to be able to stick in a stocking. Molly Gray has always loved the holidays. When she was a child, her gran went to great lengths to make the season merry and bright, full of cherished traditions. First few Christmases without Gran were hard on Molly, but this year, her beloved boyfriend and fellow festive spirit, Juan Manuel, is intent on making this season Molly's most joyful. When the Secret Santa gift exchange at the Regency Grand Hotel raises questions about who Molly can and cannot trust, she dives headfirst into solving her most consequential and personal mystery yet. She has a bad feeling about things, and she starts to wonder, has she yet again mistaken a frog for a prince? You've got the Mistletoe Mystery. When I listened to an interview that Nita did yesterday with I'm going to forget, with Constantine, and it was part of the series that BNN does. And she said that her mom passed away a couple of years ago, and her mom was really into Christmas and all the traditions and what they did to like dress up with hats and all kinds of things. And no matter where she lived in the world, she always flew home for Christmas. So this is a novel, that's really close to her heart as the theme as well. Next, we've got One Big Happy Family by Susan Mallory. It's on sale now. Note that a lot of Christmas books come out in October. The reason for that is stores usually do not want to be opening books in November and December. So usually you get a start on everything to make sure everything is shelved and ready to go for the holiday season because these books get that short shelf life. So Julia Park's kids are her greatest gift. So she's not exactly heartbroken when they ask to skip a big Christmas. Her son Nick is taking a belated honeymoon with his bride Blair, while her daughter Dana will purge every reminder of the guy who dumped her. Again, Julie feels practically giddy for the one-on-one holiday time with Heath, the much younger man she's secretly dating. But her plans go from cozy to chaotic when Nick and Dana plead for Christmas at the family cabin in memory of their late father, Julie's ex. She can't refuse, even though she dreads the reactions to her new man when they realize she's been hiding him for months. The guest list grows in surprising ways, from Blair's estranged mom to Heath's precocious children. Julie's secret is one of many that needs to be unwrapped. So there you've got One Big Happy Family. Next, we've got The Most Wonderful Time by Jane Allen, also out this week. Christmas around the corner, Ramona Tucker is desperate to get away. Been lying to her family about her engagement to Malik, her ex-fiancé. Ramona is convinced that she can make her pretend wedding feel real again, if only she can avoid everyone discovering her secret at her mother's Christmas Eve party. In sunny Malibu, Chelsea Flint is an artist who needs money to hold on to the beloved beachside cottage she shares with her late parents. Two women swap homes, thanks to some careful planning by Ramona's best friend and a sturdy nudge from Chelsea's galleryist godmother. Ramona's Malibu dream of sun and surf are interrupted as her first night brings an unwelcome stranger to her door, making her question of who she can trust, the meddling neighbor Joan or Jay, the handsome beachside fitness instructor with a secret of his own. Most wonderful time of the year. Next, we've got Murder, She Wrote, A Killer Christmas by Jessica Fletcher and Terry Farley Moran. It's on sale also this week. Christmas is not an easy time to sell a house, but in Boston tycoon John Bragdon, Cabot Cove realtor Eve Simpson has found a buyer for the old Jarvis homestead. Fortunately, Eve gets a lump of coal in her stocking in the form of Kenny Jarvis, who has been missing for years and presumed dead, but now has come back to stop his sister from selling their childhood home. Eve presses on, organizing a welcome drive for Bragdon and his wife Rosemary to meet the leading citizens of the town, including, of course, Jessica Fletcher. Dinner is interrupted by an uninvited guest, not Santa, but Kenny, who threateningly promises Rosemary she will never live in his house. Rosemary is found dead. A few days later, Kenny's a natural suspect, but Jessica isn't so sure he's on the naughty list. I mean, really, does that sound exactly out of a script from the show? Yes, and it is based on the Universal television series. Next, we've got A Christmas Duet from Debbie Macomber. It's on sale next week. Haley Morgan's life has always revolved around music. She once had big dreams of becoming a professional songwriter. The reality of life has led her to working as an assistant high school band teacher. The holidays approach. Haley dreads the annual tradition of spending Christmas with her family and dodging her mother's meddling questions about her love life. Actually, if I was Haley, I would definitely dread the school holiday concert. Just saying. But okay, I digress. When Haley's close friend offers her the use of the family's empty cabin for a rejuvenating solo holiday retreat, she finally decides to do something to make herself happy. However, in a revival in the small town of Podunk, Oregon, is anything from peaceful when she discovered the cabin has been invaded by several wild animals. Luckily, saw this one coming, Jay, the son of the town's main store proprietor and a former musician to boot, is more than willing to help. Do we see that duet coming or what? And next we've got, I mean, you just can't make this up, folks, The More The Terrier by David Rosenfeld. It's on sale next week as well. Reluctant lawyer Andy Carpenter is relieved to be heading back to Paterson, New Jersey after a week-long family vacation in the Adirondacks. He's ready to put the holly jolly season way behind him and settle in at home with his 3 dogs. But when they finally arrive, there's an extra dog eagerly awaiting them, as well as one anxious dog sitter. The dog showed up on the doorstep a few days ago. The sitter knew Andy would know what to do. Indeed, Andy recognized Murphy, who the Carpenters fostered before the dog went home with B.J. Bremer and his mother. When Andy goes to take Murphy back to the Bremers, instead of a happy reunion he expects, he finds B.J.'s mother in tears. Turns out that Murphy ran off after B.J. was arrested for murder. And the case isn't as simple as Andy thought it would be, with B.J. suspected of killing one of his professors. So I think that's an adorable dog with an adorable hat on the cover of the book. Just saying. And next we've got Christmas Crimes at the Mysterious Bookshop. It is out on the 22nd, and it is edited by Otto Penzer, who's the owner of the store there. For most of its 45-year history, the Mysterious Bookshop, the oldest mystery specialty bookstore in the world, has commissioned an original short story as a holiday gift for its customers. Written exclusively for the store and never published elsewhere, the stories were given as a holiday gift to its customers as a thank you for their business, handed out or mailed between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day. The prompt for the story requires 3 elements. It has to be set at Christmas time, involves a crime of some sort or the suspicion of one, and is set at least partially in the bookstore. And from these loose structural guidelines, diverse tales take flight. The dozen tales included in this volume, written by Jeffrey Deaver, Lindsay Fay, Laura Lippman, and Tom Perry, among others, are sure to charm any reader looking for a holiday-themed escape. So I think that's for the mystery lover in your life. There's your present. See, we're delivering today, folks. And then we've got Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret by Benjamin Stevenson. This is a festive mystery coming out on the 22nd. My name's Ernest Cunningham. I used to be a fan of reading Golden Age murder mysteries until I found myself with a haphazard career getting stuck in the middle life of real life ones. I hope this Christmas that any suspecting, self-respecting murderer would kick up their feet and take it easy over the holiday. But I was wrong. So here I am backstage at the show of a world-famous magician, Ryland Blaze, whose benefactor has just been murdered. My suspects are all professional tricksters, masters of the art of deception. My clues are even more abstract. A suspect covered in blood without a memory of how it got there. A murder committed without setting foot inside the room where it happened. And an advent calendar. I can see through illusions. I know I can solve it. After all, a good murder is just like a magic trick, isn't it? December titles to look forward to. Yes, December does not have that much. We know November and December are light on the titles, but we do have some. We've got Against the Grain by Peter Lovesey, which is coming on December 3rd. It's a conclusion of his Peter Diamond series and his final book. Detective Peter Diamond is taking a short holiday. His former colleague, Julia Hargreaves, has invited Diamond and his partner Paloma to visit the idyllic village of Baskerville. The woman who owns the village's largest dairy farm has been convicted of manslaughter following a terrible accident in her grain silo. Julie's ex-investigator's instinct tells her that this has been a miscarriage of justice and a murder is on the loose. But Julie's been keeping secrets of her own, and she can't take her inquiry any further. Diamond takes the bait. The case is a fascinating one, but maintaining his innocent tourist facade becomes harder as he closes in on his suspects. There you go, the conclusion of a series. We've got Alter Ego by Alex Segura. You heard he has another book earlier in the presentation. This is coming on December 3rd. Annie Bustamante is a cultural force like none other, an acclaimed filmmaker, an author, a comic book artist, known for one of the all-time best superhero comics in recent memory. But she's never been able to tackle her longtime superhero, the Lethal Lynx. Only known to the most diehard comic fans and long out of print, the rights were never available until now. But Annie's skeptical of who's making the author. Burt Kylow's father started Triumph Comics and has long claimed ownership of the Lynx. When she starts getting anonymous messages urging her not to trust anyone, Annie's inner alarms go off. Even worse, Carlyle wants to pair her with the disgraced filmmaker for a desperate media play. So there is you got Alter Ego. Next, we've got The Greatest Lie of All coming from Gillian Cantor on December 3rd. Fledgling actress Amelia Grant is at rock bottom, which is offered the opportunity of a lifetime, star in a biopic about the world-renowned romance writer Julia Diamond, who used her own tragic love story as inspiration for her best-selling books. To prepare for the role, she'll spend a week with Gloria at her secluded Washington estate. It's a chance to get out of LA, away from her cheating boyfriend, and to make her recently deceased mother proud. However, Amelia's excitement is short-lived when she actually meets Gloria, who is cold, verging on rude, and mostly unavailable. If not for Gloria's frustratingly handsome son, Will, the visit might be a complete waste of time. But when Amelia stumbles upon a secret from Gloria's past, she realizes that Gloria's life story is more fiction than fact. And as the movie filming date draws nearer, Amelia must decide how much she's willing to sacrifice to uncover the truth. So we've got The Greatest Lie of All. Next, we've got Locked In from Jussi Adler Olsen coming on December 3rd, the 10th and final installment in her Department Q series. The day after Christmas, Detective Carl Mork, the head of Department Q, finds himself handcuffed in a police car headed for Copenhagen's Vestbred prison. After 15 years, a violent case from his past has caught up with him. Charges of drug trafficking and murder threaten to destroy his life and career, but he's being framed. Someone has $1 million bounty on his head to make sure he doesn't talk, putting him in grave danger among prison's incarcerated criminals and corrupt officers. The question is, why? Carl's colleagues in the Copenhagen Police Department instantly turn their backs on him, leaving the ever-loyal Department Q team as his only hope in search of answers. Rose, Assad, and Gordon must disobey direct orders from way up the chain to try to unravel the case. Next, we've got a book. I'm intrigued by this book. I asked Tom to add this book. I am intrigued by serial killers. I'll be the first one to say it. This is Raised by a Serial Killer by April Blasio. It's coming out on December 3rd. One evening in 2009, April Blasio was searching online, as she had been every night, for unsolved murders in the towns her family had lived growing up, when she stumbled across the latest investigations into the Sweetheart Murders cold case. All at once, the buried memories of her father's dark history were awakened, and she knew she had to take action. She picked up the phone to call a detective, and the rest is infamous true crime history. And raised by a serial killer, she bravely reveals the astonishing tale of a lifetime of manipulation, unexpected upheavals, and silent fear. Some part of her has always known what her father was capable of, but the full truth of how she came to these revelations is as riveting as it is quietly terrifying. I think there's something that said to me that I'm obsessed with serial killers, but somehow Tom Donadio understood. And then we've got Rental House by Wiki Wang, which is coming out also on December 3rd. Karu and Nate are college sweethearts who marry despite their family differences. Karu's strict Chinese immigrant parents demand perfection, while Nate's rural white working class family distrusts his intellectual ambitions and his foreign wife. Some years into their marriage, the couple invites their families on vacation. At a Cape Cod vacation house, and later at a luxury Catskills bungalow. Carew, Nate, and their giant sheepdog navigates visits from in-laws and unexpected guests, all while wondering if they have what it takes to answer big questions. How do you cope when your spouse and your family of origin clash? How many people and dogs make a family? And when the pack starts to disintegrate, what can you do to shepherd everyone back together? So there we've got Rental House, and that sounds like lots of fun. Okay, these are notable paperback releases in this month. Bloodwines from Nelson DeMille and Alex DeMille. The paperback also includes 2 chapters of The Tin Men, which will be the last Nelson DeMille, Alex DeMille book, but will be coming out next fall. Mary Kay Andrews, Bright Lights, Big Christmas. Douglas Brunt, The Mysterious Cakes of Rodolphe Diesel, and I interviewed him about that book last year. The Other Mothers by Catherine Faulkner, which was a Betson selection, also interviewed her. Lauren Groff, The Vast Childs, The Manor House by Gilly McMillan, and I interviewed her as well. Heather Morris, Sisters Under the Rising Sun. Spare by Prince Harry. No, I did not interview him. Absolution by Alex McDermott, which I absolutely loved, and I believe was a Betson selection. The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peters. Amanda's going to be our guest. We'll have a little bit more on that in a couple of minutes, which is also a Betson selection. I interviewed her last year. The Waters by Bonnie Joe Campbell, and We Must Not Think of Ourselves by Warren Grotstein. So that's a good list of paperback releases. So far, I've got 31 Betson selections, and they're more cooking. The team knows that I am scribbling on a piece of paper right now what else is to come. They're trying to figure out where the year is going to end up, so we shall see. Not trying hard, not playing hard to get. These are the 2 most recent interviews with Jean Hanff Korelitz about the sequel and Laura Dave about The Night We Lost Him. Okay, this is big. We've got a reader survey that we are running. We haven't done a reader survey in years and years and years and years. I think probably more like 20 years. And we want to know more about our readers. We want to know what you love. We want to know about your habits, what's going on. It's a quick survey. I think people are saying it doesn't take that long to answer it. And we really try to ask questions that you could just do like this. The survey is going to be open until October 18th, Friday, October 18th, a week from Friday at noon. And we're doing this because we want to get a profile of who our readers are that we can also take out to publishers and agents and authors. So we can say, this is who the Book Report reader is. We have a handle on it. We have a handle on who goes to what programs and things like that. And yes, we're going to give away 3 $50 gift cards, and then 5 people are also going to win books. So that's going to be random once you've finished the survey. So this will also be for those of you who are attending live today. This will be in the Leave Behind later on. For everybody else, we'll make sure we put it up on the site. So when we put the video up on YouTube, so you'll be able to see it as well. So there you go, something new that we're doing. And we've gotten a fantastic response so far, but I've got a number in my head of how many people I want. If you haven't done it, please do it, because I've got a big number. Next, Sharon Vers. Well, yes, you can enter to win one of 25 advanced copies of the Graze of Truth. You can enter this by Friday, this Friday at noon Eastern time. And I'm telling you, she's a great read, and she's a really terrific person. So looking forward to talking to her again. She also just wrote a piece for people.com with some great fall reads in it as well. So I think we'll read her holiday reads here. She did a piece. Try and link to that as well in the newsletter on Friday. This is the books that are in our fall holiday reading contest right now. I may drop a couple more in. I was just doing some thinking as we were going through this, Tom. He always loves when I sit there and go, I have an idea. It's never always means time. Okay, our next Bookaccino Live Book Group evening event, Amanda Peters. We're going to discuss The Berry Pickers, Tuesday, October 29th at 8 o'clock. This is a book like Go as a River, the Shelley Reed book last month, that has gotten such huge um, word of mouth. People are just loving it. It's a national bestseller. People are just crazy about it. So if you've read the book or you have time to read it, it's not that long, folks. You want to join us Tuesday, October 29th at 8 o'clock. And we are right now giving away books by Ariel Walhorn with the Frozen River. You could win them copies, 12 12 paperback copies of the Frozen River for your group. All you got to do is, if you're in a book group, go to readinggroupguides.com and tell us what your book group is reading this month. If you're reading the Frozen River really with your group this month, you can put that down. But usually you're reading something else, and that's what we want to know. And we take that very, very seriously because we go in and mine that to see what kind of books you're interested in. And it helps us shape what's going on the site. So the more you share with us, the more we can share back of exactly what you're looking for. And she is also going to be our final Bookaccino Live book group event of the year. She's going to discuss The Frozen River, which is national bestseller, a GMA book club pick, and an NPR Book of the Year pick on Tuesday, December 3rd at 8 o'clock. So those of you who want to plan ahead, you may want to mark that down. And you can sign up. We have a new page for events, which is tbrnetwork.com/events. We came up with this, and Francesca built it really quickly for us. And we've got a page there where we've got all the events listed, and we're going to keep it updated. We've already got some people in mind for next year. We probably will try and book them in the next couple of, probably by November. And here's to some great reading. Our next Bookaccino Live Book Group preview event will be a preview of books releasing from November 12th through the end of the year, and a peek ahead at January and February. And it will be on November 13th at 2 o'clock, and sign up is available on Bookreporter and Reading Group Guides. And we thank you all for joining us. It's been a pleasure as always, and we love to hear what you have to say at every single moment. So I'm going to say, look forward to seeing you next time for Bookaccino Live.